I never imagined the dishwasher would outshine the millionaire chefs in a heart-stopping showdown. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The clattering of pots and the sizzling of pans was a symphony of chaos in the kitchen, but it paled in comparison to the humming beast that stood silently in the corner of the dishwasher. Surrounded by stainless steel appliances, it radiated an eerie glow as if it were hiding something monumental. The air was thick with tension, and I felt a knot in my stomach, a tightening that mirrored the heartbeat of the room. My hands trembled as I gripped the edge of the counter. I could see my mom in the corner of my eye, her eyes darting between the celebrity chefs, each more illustrious than the last, their faces tight with determination. They were here to compete, to shine, yet my heart raced as I wondered if that mundane appliance would steal the limelight. I was pulled from my thoughts by the sharp gasp from the back of the crowd. The audience leaned forward, eyes wide, and I caught sight of my best friend Claire, her mouth agape. "Can you believe this?" she whispered, the excitement in her voice tinged with disbelief. I wanted to scream. The million-dollar chefs were blazing through their tasks, their exquisite creations filling the kitchen with tantalizing aromas. And yet, the dishwasher hummed louder an ominous melody that hinted at secrets lying within. What was it hiding? I took a deep breath, the scent of roasted garlic and herbs suffocating me, and tried to shake the chilling thought. My brother, Jake, stood beside me, his usual calm demeanor replaced by nervous energy. "Something feels off," he murmured, eyes fixated on the spinning cycles of the dishwasher. I felt a chill creep down my spine. What did he know that I didn't? Suddenly, the lights dimmed. Gasps echoed through the room. The chefs froze mid-action. All eyes were glued to the dishwasher. Was its shimmering facade a facade of deception, or was it just a simple machine? A hush fell over the crowd, palpable with anticipation, as the appliance churned ominously. Then, with a loud clunk, the door popped open. A cloud of steam billowed out like it was exhaling after a long, hard day. The spectators leaned closer, breaths collectively held. I glanced at Claire, her wide eyes mirrored my shock. I was struck by the thought that maybe this was not just a cooking showdown. Maybe we were witnessing the collision of challenge, rivalry, and revelation. What if the dishwasher contained more than just dirty dishes? A sickening realization washed over me. Could it be holding secrets that could ruin lives? I felt my heart race again. The million-dollar chefs didn't know, but I was about to find out. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The steam dissipated slowly, revealing a collection of beautiful, pristine platters inside the dishwasher, each one an intricate creation that mirrored the chef's masterpieces. Gasps erupted, and the room buzzed with astonishment. In that moment, I felt an unsettling mix of confusion and intrigue. What was happening? I turned to Jake, my heart racing, searching for answers in his unwavering gaze. His expression was a cocktail of fear and anticipation. "This isn't right. Those were meant to be in the kitchen, not hidden away," he whispered, his voice barely carrying over the crowd's growing murmur. His words sparked a flicker of dread within me. This showdown had already spiraled into something unpredictable. Claire nudged me, shaking her head, her disbelief palpable. "No way, this has to be a setup. Wouldn't she cut herself off?" her excitement tempered by a creeping suspicion. My mind raced. Had they staged an elaborate trick to create drama, or was there something more sinister at play? The chefs exchanged glances, their focused expressions now twisted into bewilderment. One particularly charismatic chef, adorned in a vibrant blue coat, stepped forward, his confidence unwavering despite the chaos. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, what we witness here might just revolutionize the culinary landscape." He motioned to the platters, his eyes gleaming. But beneath my skin, there was a lingering doubt. I sensed that the show's direction had shifted, bending dangerously close to an unraveling that was beyond culinary competition. I wanted to hurl my opinions to the wind, but I stood frozen in place, caught between a spiraling spectacle and the comforting familiarity of my family. Amid the turbulent waves of uncertainty, a voice called from the darkened corners of the room. A woman in her 50s with a gentle smile stepped forward, an aura of warmth surrounding her. In a world fraught with competitive tension, she looked like a beacon of hope. "May I?" she asked, extending a hand toward the dishwasher. The audience fell silent, uncertainty palpable. With the slightest nod, the blue-vested chef conceded. She approached it cautiously, opening the door wider to reveal yet another surprise. A single, elaborately constructed dessert stood untouched amidst the dishes. The gentle hum of the machine seemed to resonate with the quiet gasp from the onlookers. "That I know this may seem unusual," she began, her voice smooth and inviting, and I couldn't help but lean closer. "But this dessert holds more than just sweetness, it carries memories, stories, and yes, even lives." Her words wrapped around my heart, pulling it closer, filling me with a longing for understanding that I lost someone close to me, and I put all my heart into this creation, she continued, glancing at the platter as though it was an old friend. "I wished to share it with the world through this competition, but it somehow ended up here." A single tear slipped down her cheek, glimmering under the overhead lights like a fallen star. In that fleeting moment, the chaos of the kitchen dimmed, replaced by the serene power of her vulnerability. I peeked at Jake, whose forehead furrowed with concern, and Claire, whose eyes glistened with unshed tears. We were pulled into her story, bound in the understanding of loss and love, a reminder of the fragility of what it meant to create, but there was a sense of foreboding that pulled at me like an undercurrent. How would the chefs react to this revelation? Would they rise to challenge each other with this woman's heartfelt creation now at their fingertips? I could already picture the wheels turning behind their eyes, preparing to capitalize on emotional leverage. Suddenly, a clamor erupted as one chef launched into a vehement critique of the dessert. The elegance of its design betrayed by a taint of personal grief he seemed unwilling to accept. "We are here to create, not to wallow in the past," he declared, drawing gasps and ripples of discontent. The fragile moment shattered like glass, echoing loud in the chamber of my heart. This wasn't merely a competition about skill anymore, it had morphed into a battleground of emotions, challenging the very fabric of creativity and passion in the face of tragedy. I felt a grounding urge, the desire to stand up and perhaps defend this woman, yet I remained anchored in fear, my body cautiously rigid. Claire latched onto my arm, squeezing it firmly as if conveying a silent message of support. The lines between competition and compassion blurred, the stakes rising with every word exchanged. As the tension crackled with the weight of the impossible choices before the chefs, the lights flickered again. A low rumble echoed from the dishwasher, almost as if it too bore the burden of the emotional upheaval unfolding around it. Something was about to happen, a revelation lurking just beyond the horizon. Would those once shining chefs forge alliances to rise above the chaos, or would the bitter taste of ambition snuff out the warmth of empathy? I held my breath, ready for the unexpected, knowing that whatever unfolded next would alter the course of not just the competition, but of our lives forever. The room felt electric, tension crackling like static as emotions surged through us all. My gaze drifted back to the woman. She stood bravely at the center of the storm, a quiet lighthouse in a sea of chaos. I watched as tears streamed down her cheeks, knowing that her vulnerability was a profound contrast to the growing hostility among the chefs. In that precarious moment, a young chef I had barely noticed before stepped forward, her long hair cascading over her shoulders, casting an ethereal glow in the harsh light. With a determined glint in her eye, she addressed her colleagues. "Isn't that the point of cooking? To tell stories? To evoke emotions?" Her voice rang out, strong and bold. "Creating food is as much about who we are as it is about what we can deliver on a plate." Let that resonate. I could feel the tension in the air shift, a subtle breeze of collective introspection beginning to stir. The words hung like a light mist, offering an unexpected chance for reflection. Two other chefs exchanged glances, their brows furrowing as they weighed the merit of what she had just articulated, but just as I thought there was a flicker of hope for unity, another chef recoiled with an audacious scoff. He stepped forward, pointing at the woman as if she were the root of all their discontent. What you call emotional storytelling, I see as weakness. We are refining this craft, not recollecting horror tales. Each accusation pierced through the air, heavier than the last, until I felt like gasping for breath. Claire's grip tightened around my arm as the roar from the audience began to rise again, divided between those who rallied in support and those energized by the prospect of ruling the chaos. It felt painfully akin to standing at the center of a maelstrom, caught between compelling storms. Jake stood silently beside me, his face shadowed with worry. I could sense his turmoil. He wasn't just competing for glory in the kitchen but was carrying the weight of our collective past, our families, our dreams, and the haunting remnants of lost relationships. The notion that the culinary arts could intertwine so deeply with personal tragedy felt overwhelming. Just then, the gentle woman, her courage momentarily flickering, spoke again, her voice breaking only slightly. I know what I have experienced is not unique. But can't we use our pain to fuel creativity rather than suppress it? She took a deep breath, gathering the fragments of herself, her hand gesturing towards the dessert she had created. This, she said softly, is what healing looks like on a plate. The audience quieted, unsettled by the truth laid bare. A small child, hidden in the audience, stepped forward with wide eyes reflecting a mix of innocence and wisdom beyond her years. I like dessert, she piped up, her voice crystal clear, cutting through the grown-up disputes. It can make you happy, even if you're sad. Gasps rippled through the room again, and a smile surfaced on the woman's lips. For an instant, the heaviness lifted, replaced by a community spirit that felt almost tangible. Yet, deep down, I understood that this was but a temporary salve, a distraction from the brewing storm. As murmurs spread, the charismatic blue-clad chef stepped back, absorbing the energy in the room. His eyes flickered across faces, and for a moment, it felt like he was truly listening. In that pregnant pause, he opened his mouth to speak, but before he could launch into another tumultuous proclamation, the dishwasher rumbled ominously once more. The room shook slightly, drawing everyone's gaze toward it as if it had transformed into some bizarre oracle, blinking and whirring machinery, now the epicenter of our collective uncertainty. A light flickered from deep within the machine before a cloud of steam burst forth, sending chairs skidding backward as gasps erupted again. As silence blanketed the room, the dishwasher continued to tremble, and suddenly, my heart pounded louder than the distant echo of chaos. I wasn't prepared for what might emerge. Fear clawed at my insides, mingling with a desperate curiosity. What anomalies were hidden within this metallic vessel? Just then, a jarring metallic clang reverberated, and a small card, the size of a recipe card, fluttered from the dishwasher's door, landing directly at my feet. The room turned its focus on me, still held in the spell of the mysterious machine. What do I do? My breath quickened while all eyes locked onto me as if I had become an unwilling chosen one. That I swallowed hard, kneeling down slowly to pick it up. The surface was worn, edges frayed as if it had lived through countless moments of humanity, moments of struggle, of joy. I had no clue what to expect, yet the implications hung dry in the air, almost suffocating in its anticipation. As I turned the card over, a sharp chill wrapped around my spine. The words scrawled across its surface danced before my vision: what you desire can always be turned into a weapon. Choose wisely. A sudden silence fell over the crowd, and my heart plummeted as I felt the weight of the threat behind the words. The stakes had leaped higher, the stakes of creativity, of vulnerability, of our pasts. What had I stumbled into? I clutched the card tightly, the truth settling in my chest like a boulder. The battle had only just begun, and its course would thrust us all further into the depths of our darkest fears. As the ominous words of the card swirled in my thoughts, the ambient sounds of the kitchen faded into a distant hum. It felt as though time had suspended itself, leaving only the pulsating anxiety in my chest and the weight of scrutiny pressing down upon me. I glanced around, my heart racing, meeting the eyes of my fellow chefs, each reflecting a mix of trepidation and intrigue. The blue-clad chef's expression shifted from confusion to fierce determination, a fire igniting behind his gaze. We all came here to showcase our passions, didn't we? But what does it mean if our desires are seen as weapons? His voice was low but resonant, cutting a path through the lingering tension. It was as if he recognized the terror resonating within us. He could feel the suffocating grip of expectation. As the reaction to the card simmered, Claire's hand slipped into mine, her warmth grounding me in that moment. What if we turned it into something beautiful? She whispered, her eyes reflecting an unexpected glimmer of hope. What if we take our pain and use it to challenge ourselves instead? Her words ignited a flicker of resistance deep within me. I thought of the woman who brought her story to the surface and how it had momentarily united us all. But as quickly as I grasped at that notion, I sensed the inner conflict bubbling among my peers, some eager for collaboration while others craved dominion over one another. The battle lines were drawn, aching pains feeding a competition that could just as easily shatter camaraderie as forge it. The momentary reprieve shattered as a loud crash echoed from behind the counter, where the young chef who had spoken earlier now stood frozen, shattered glass littering her feet. "It's just a plate," she exclaimed, her voice uneven, yet defiant. "Don't you see? Every broken piece tells a story too." Her voice stirred something inside me, a resonance with the fear of failure, yet she poured her heart into forging her narrative, even in moments of heartache. I felt the urgency to step forward, to ignite what lay dormant in the hearts of many, hope amidst chaos. If we're to create these stories together, then my voice trembled but strengthened with determination. Let's cook together. Let's turn our fears into our greatest inspirations. The blue-clad chef tilted his head, a flicker of intrigue dancing across his features. Cooking with our emotions, then? He mused, drawing attention away from the broken glass scattered like forgotten dreams. Who's ready to surrender their weapons? Nervous chuckles rippled through the crowd like a calming tide, but the underlying tension remained. It was one thing to share pain, it was another matter to wield it as a tool for creativity. Yet, the thought echoed in my heart. If we could transform our vulnerabilities into culinary masterpieces, perhaps we could forge a path toward healing rather than division. And just as harmony seemed within grasp, the dishwasher sputtered to life again, rattling violently as if refusing to let go of its mysteries. In response, the lights flickered ominously, plunging us into moments of dim uncertainty. The temperature in the room dropped as reactions shifted from hope to confusion once more. "Look!" a young apprentice shouted, pointing toward the glowing screen embedded in the wall, which had adult chefs using their hands to communicate with virtual assistants about food safety, tracking ingredients, technology far beyond our current focus. Suddenly, the screen illuminated, revealing a data breach alert, flickering with chaotic information. Our recipes. They're being leaked. Panic erupted through the chefs like wildfire, and tension soared as mistrust clouded the air. The revelation felt like another blow, a reminder that our vulnerabilities could indeed be manipulated. Betrayals threaded through every glance, hungry to devour the fragile coherence we had just begun to build. That I clutched the card tighter, its words morphing into a mantra of caution. What if our desires were now serving as tools for others? What if friendships forged in this culinary crucible were put to the test by outside forces? The struggle was no longer confined to our kitchen. It had morphed into something greater, harnessing chaos and hurt, now being constructed into the ethos of the competition itself. The room buzzed with frantic energy as chefs rushed to assess the situation, fingers flying against screens filled with data. In the fray, I spotted the young chef, her eyes brimming with tears, yet her resolve still anchoring her spirit. "We need to watch each other's backs from now on," she said to her shaken colleagues, her compassion palpable even in the maelstrom of disaster. "Trust can build us, or it can break us," she continued, and for that instant, her voice rose above the clamor as a rallying cry. With renewed fervor, I expanded upon her notion. "Let's create dishes inspired by our stories of trust and betrayal," I proposed, my voice carrying a weight of collective anxiety and hope. "Let's tell the stories of our hearts, where pain can create beauty." I could feel my pulse racing as some chefs nodded, their eyes lighting with the spark of creativity against adversity. Claire squeezed my hand, her heart matching mine in tempo as we turned toward the blue-clad chef, awaiting his response. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, the mysterious light from the dishwasher flickered intensely, a blinding flash encapsulating the room. Everyone froze, the world around us swallowed by the radiance before plunging into darkness once more. Dread settled in my bones as I prepared to confront whatever shadowy depths were about to unfurl. Would our stories weave us closer together or tear us apart irrevocably? In that heartbeat of silence, the impending reckoning hung above us like a visceral tempest waiting to explode.
The blinding light enveloped us, a storm of uncertainty swirling in the void that replaced our surroundings. It felt as if the very fabric of reality had unraveled, leaving us suspended between fear and the unknown. The darkness stretched endlessly, accompanied only by the hum of our anxious breaths. In this bewildering moment, I grasped Claire's hand tighter, her presence a fragile lifeline against the encroaching dread. I strained my ears, hoping to catch any sound that would reassure me we were still together, that the storm hadn't ripped us apart. Then, all at once, the light faded, revealing not just the kitchen but a vast expanse of emptiness. The familiar warmth of the room vanished, replaced by a chilling atmosphere that seemed to whisper secrets in a forgotten tongue. Confusion swirled among us as we turned in unison, each face a canvas of uncertainty, apprehending a world reshaped in mere seconds. Is this some kind of test? A voice dared to break the silence, its owner just visible through the lingering shadows. Recognition flickered at it was the young chef. Her resolve re-emerged like a beacon, but even she appeared shaken. They want us to doubt each other. To fracture our spirit before the competition even begins. An oppressive weight settled in the pit of my stomach as I began to comprehend the ramifications of what had transpired. The interference didn't just signal a leak, it hinted at manipulation. If they can step in like this, how much control do we really have over our stories? Our food? Whispers crawled through the shadows as the realization sunk in newer paths to greatness were marred by unseen hands weaving chaos into our culinary battles. Yet in the corner of my eye, I noticed the blue-clad chef stepping forward, ignited by his own inner fire. We have to reclaim our narrative. We can't allow outside forces to dictate our journey. Each dish is a piece of us. He stepped closer, vigor radiating from him. Let's use this distraction to our advantage. Let's invoke our stories, not as weapons, but as shields to guard against their schemes. They can throw darkness our way, but we wield light through understanding. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, a fragile yet fierce pulse of unity amidst the unease. Although we were unsure of how to navigate this perilous terrain, the glimmers of hope offered by our shared resolve ignited courage within us, the flames of collaboration fanned by the voices of those around me. But just as we started to find straws of resolve in the chaos, the kitchen abruptly flickered back to life, awakening with an agonizing hum as if the walls themselves were screaming from the onslaught of our struggles. The familiar sounds returned, clattering pots, sizzling pans, but something was undeniably off. Frantically, chefs returned to their stations, reorienting themselves amid the remnants of a unity once built. Yet in the depths of that kitchen chaos, I perceived something more sinister at play, shadows darting just out of sight, muffled voices distorting behind fraying walls, and an undeniable sense of surveillance lurking just beyond our grasp. I caught sight of Claire, her breath hitching as she swiped through the data on her tablet. This isn't just competition, she breathed, panic lacing her tone. They're tracking our recipes, recording use. All of this is being monitored. The room seemed to grow colder, the realization fraying the edges of our newly found solidarity. What are they aiming to achieve? Someone questioned, their voice wavering in disbelief. We're not just fighting for position in the kitchen, we're fighting against a system seeking to conquer our creativity. The blue-clad chef slammed a fist down on the counter, a desperate frustration spilling out. Then we must become masters of our own destiny. We will document our experience ourselves, track our emotions and recipes, chart our story, and not let them do it for us. His determination poured into each word, weaving into the hearts of those who heard him. As the energy in the room shifted, I felt the pulse of hope once more. But
just as ideas began to sprout from the chaos, a loud thud resonated from outside the kitchen doors. We froze, eyes wide, hearts suspended in the thick air of trepidation. The sound echoed again, louder this time, accompanied by a muffled shout that rose over the din. Before we had a chance to process, the door burst open, revealing a frazzled head chef, his face twisted in distress. "We have a situation," he barked, eyes darting around. "There's been an explosion in the pantry storage area. You need to evacuate now." Panic surged through us, threatening to drown our fragile unity. In a heartbeat, the room erupted into chaos, chefs scrambling toward exits, voices raised in confusion and fear. Yet, even in the face of this whirlpool of disaster, a singular thought pressed upon me, crashing against the walls of my mind. How could we forge our story in the crucible of this chaos if we were to be separated now, scattered like hopes lost to the flames? As I turned to reach for Claire, I felt my heart sink. The bustling throng swallowed her from view. A wave of anxiety washed over me, almost tangible against my skin. How would we combine our stories, if I couldn't hold on to her through this storm? The weight of uncertainty pulled me down as the echoes of chaos grew louder around me, but then, fleetingly, I remembered the young chef, the voice of conviction still echoing in my mind, the power of our connection, forged in the heat of our passions. I pushed forward, determined to find Claire, to embrace what we had begun. In that moment, a deafening shatter froze the world as a light burst forth again, and I felt the details of the kitchen slipping from me, pulling me into an abyss of uncertainty. Would our stories intertwine amidst the chaos, or would this explosive trial force us apart, the threads of connection severed before our tales could fully unfurl? With fear clawing at my throat, I took a deep breath and leapt into the fray, seeking Claire in the torrent of uncharted possibilities. Would I uncover her before the storm pulled us away? The tempest beckoned, swirling shadows promising either calamity or the chance to reclaim our narratives, and I hoped against all hope that I could seize the moment with her by my side. The chaos in the kitchen was almost unbearable. The clamor of pots and pans being displaced, the sharp cries of chefs redirecting their frantic energy, all meshed into a cacophony that threatened to drown me. My heart raced as I rushed through the throngs, my eyes darting desperately for the familiar sight of Claire. Her brilliant smile and unyielding spirit were the anchors that helped me navigate through stormy waters, and right now I needed that anchor more than ever. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, I spotted a flash of blue amidst the tumult, the unmistakable color of Claire's uniform. My breath caught in my throat, a surge of hope pushing me forward. "Claire!" I shouted, shoving through the throng. But the drumming of footsteps drowned out my voice, their relentless rhythm blurring the lines of clarity I desperately sought. Just as I thought I caught a glimpse of her, another loud explosion reverberated through the building, shaking the ground beneath my feet. Fear coursed through me, electrifying my senses. Every instinct screamed for me to flee, yet all I could think about was finding her. The confusing whirl of panic made the kitchen feel like a living being, thrashing and writhing, seeking to consume any semblance of calm. "Head chef," someone yelled, and I turned to see a stocky figure bolting through a swinging door panel, his face strained and pale. "There's more than just chaos in here. The fire isn't just from the pantry, there's something in the air. It's toxic, and we need to clear out." The words felt like jagged knives, slicing through hope. My thoughts tumbled as I tried to process the implications of his warning. If the air was toxic, every second mattered. Every heartbeat added urgency to my search for Claire. I pushed deeper into the remnants of our kitchen, weaving around chefs who were racing to grab their essentials, the passion that usually vibrated in the air now replaced by a survival instinct that hushed all the culinary artistry. And still, the shadows that danced around the periphery felt alive, darting in my vision like ominous wraiths, further impeding my search. But just then, like a ray of sunshine breaking through thick, gray clouds, I heard her voice. "Here. Over here." It cut through the noise, a lifeline amid confusion. Running toward the sound, I saw Claire's eyes wide with panic, but there was a determination too, a fierceness that lit up her face even in the shadows. Relief surged through me as I reached her side, grabbing her hand tightly. "We need to move." "The head chef," he said, "it's toxic." I implored, adrenaline coursing through my veins, but Claire shook her head, her brow furrowed. "I can't. My tablet, I've been piecing together the recipes, but the data is missing. I think they were trying to corrupt our work, they're manipulating everything." Fear blanketed my senses, but in that instant, I noticed a flicker of something unexpected amidst her distress, a flicker of defiance. "We can fix it later," I urged, pulling her in the direction of the exit. "Right now, we need to save ourselves." As we hurried past the remnants of shattered dreams and broken dishes, a glimmer of light caught my eye from the corner of the kitchen. The chef with the blue attire expertly maneuvered through the flames, licking at the edges of the counters, a fire of his own igniting within him as he gathered every dish he could salvage. He spotted us, eyes pleading amidst the haze. "Help me. If we can't save our recipes, let's save what we can still create together." In that heartbeat, hope ignited within me like a flare in darkness. I glanced at Claire, and I could see it mirrored in her eyes. Uncertainty was still there, thick and swirling in our minds, but so was the undying spirit of creation. "Let's do it," she shouted, raising her voice above the chaos. With each heartbeat, a plan began to form. The fragments of our stories could be stitched together, even amidst the ruin. Moving as a synchronized unit, we plunged toward the remaining simulation of our sanctuary, hearts pounding not just with fear but now with purpose. As we reached the blue-clad chef, we began to gather what we could, tokens of our identities pieced together like a mosaic against the threat of oblivion. But just as we turned to flee, a deafening crash echoed throughout the kitchen, echoing off the walls in a spine-chilling roar. All at once, the room shifted, and I felt the ground beneath us buckle. In the split second that followed, everything seemed to dissolve into chaos once more. The very foundations of our culinary haven were crumbling as the shadows elongated, stretching ominously. Max, the blue-clad chef, stood frozen beside us, fear overtaking his boldness. "What is happening?" The question hung thick in the air as we felt the ground shift again and the oppressive darkness began to choke the remaining lights. Suddenly, the doors lurched open, and a tall, imposing figure with a shadowed face emerged, a laugh pouring forth like venom. "Ah, you're still here. I anticipated this little charade, and you've provided some excellent entertainment watching you all struggle to hold on to your dreams." Disbelief washed over me, horror gripping my every limb as I recognized the man I had seen on television countless times, the ruthless millionaire chef who thrived on destruction, with a knack for undermining others' creativity. "Welcome to my game, kids. I hope you're ready for a real challenge." His smirk widened, and in that moment, it struck me his was no competition, it was a twisted playground for the wicked. The kitchen that had once felt like a cocoon of hope now morphed into a sinister stage, where our stories hung precariously on the edge of culmination and calamity. Gripped by fear, I clutched Claire tightly, caught between the desire to forge ahead and the realization that we were all mere players in an elaborate scheme designed to break us. The room pulsed with uncertainty, our resolve wavered like flickering lights, and I feared that a single misstep could send our narrative spiraling into darkness. Would we survive this twisted game, or become just another chapter in his relentless quest for dominance? The air thickened with tension, every breath feeling like a battle against the tightening grip of fate. I held Claire's hand tighter, both of us lost in a whirlpool of confusion, fear, and the ember of defiance burning brighter than the chaos around us. The man before us was a specter of dread, a labyrinth of cruelty clouding his intentions. "Why are you doing this?" I shouted, my voice trembling yet resolute. His laughter echoed off the walls, a sound my mind struggled to process as anything other than an ominous threat. "Oh, you sweet summer child. This is just the beginning. I want to see if you have what it takes to truly create. The culinary world has gone soft, and it's time we stirred the pot." His words dripped with malice, and I sensed his excitement, the thrill of toying with us igniting a spark in his cold gaze. Claire's eyes met mine, and in that shared glance, we forged a silent pact. While the struggle to survive swelled around us like an encroaching tide, I realized we had to channel that chaos into something greater. "We will not let you destroy us," she yelled, surprising even herself with her own ferocity. Max, standing beside us, nodded, his allegiance evident despite the fear that had paralyzed him mere moments before. "Together. Well, show him." Suddenly, we were thrust into action, driven by a collective urgency. We scattered through the remnants of the kitchen, rallying our scattered hope back into cohesive energy. Amid the frayed edges of broken dreams, we found shards of our past, ingredients that sang of memories and traditions, spices that sparked creativity. With hands trembling yet resolute, we began to assemble a culinary defense. It wasn't merely about saving the dishes we cherished, it was about reclaiming our identities, our purpose, and fighting against the darkness threatening to envelop us. The chaos transformed from a suffocating weight into a palpable freedom, with each grain of salt stirred into flour a declaration of our will, keep moving. I shouted through the clamor, and the camaraderie pulsed between us, uniting our breaths and hearts. Every corner of the kitchen became a beacon of resilience, something worth fighting for. As we worked feverishly, memories flooded my mind, Claire's laughter as she perfected a fruit tart, Max bemoaning a collapsed soufflé but always finding the humor in it. Those moments stitched our resolve tighter. For us, it was not just about survival, but also about honoring the bonds that this kitchen had forged, but in our fervor, I felt a shadow lurking behind us, palpable even amidst the clatter of pots and the sizzling of pans. It was a feeling of being watched, scrutinized, as if the malevolent figure loomed over our project, just waiting for the moment to strike again. Don't look back, Claire whispered, her voice a calming balm that reminded me to focus. We had work to do, and the stakes were higher than ever. We had to create something extraordinary, a dish that would encapsulate every ounce of who we were, an offering to counter the darkness creeping in from the edges of our world. Through the chaos, moments of unexpected kindness emerged like sprigs of wildflowers breaking through concrete. A sous chef threw us a few sprigs of basil from his station, murmuring, "Good luck. You can do this." Another chef shared his secret technique for balancing flavors, his eyes shining with the spark of community that our mentor had instilled in us. Glimmers of hope radiated as we gathered ingredients, acknowledging snippets of resilience unfurling around us. Each addition and every shared glance became a reminder that while shadows loomed, they could not extinguish these tiny lights of camaraderie. Just as we prepared to combine our creation, the kitchen jolted again, sending ingredients skittering across the floor. Our hearts raced in unison, and the realization hit us hard: we had to hurry. The man was growing impatient, perhaps even more vindictive in response to our united front. Then, amid the utter chaos, the central refrigerator lurched open, and with it came a cold breath of air, accompanied by a glittering glow. As I turned to glimpse the unfolding spectacle, my heart caught the signature blue box from many nights spent dreaming, a coveted trophy in the culinary world, emerged from the recesses like a ghost of my childhood dreams. That it was the golden recipe, a mythical creation whispered about in culinary circles, a combination of perfect balance and awe-inspiring taste, capable of enthralling judges and critics alike. But instead of basking in its brilliance, I felt a shiver of dread as I recognized the familiar scent mingling in the air. It was distinctly intertwined with the very essence of our adversary. Do you know what it takes to wield this? The dark figure called out, his tone mocking as he gestured towards the shimmering box. It takes ambition, it takes passion, and it certainly takes control. You really think a bunch of wannabes can claim it? I met Claire's eyes, the weight of the moment settling around us like an invisible cloak. We had come this far, and now, more than ever, we were standing on the precipice of our dreams or our ruin. With trembling fingers, I reached for the golden box, the legacy of dreams inflicted with fear and challenge. I know what it takes, I cried, steeling my resolve. I knew the dream wasn't just in possession of the recipe, it lay in the bond we had forged through countless moments of struggle and triumph together. But in that looming silence, the atmosphere shifted ever so slightly, and a revelation clenched my heart: the awareness that while we had found the ambition to fight back, we did not have the power to wield the legacy without paying the ultimate price. And just as I was about to make my decision, I felt a tremor beneath my feet, not just the tremor of the crumbling kitchen, but of fate itself rolling toward us. Nausea swirled within as the man's smirk widened, his hidden eyes flickering with an unsettling excitement. Make your choice, then. So there we stood, revived yet anchored in uncertainty, facing the gravest dilemma of our culinary lives, as every moment flared toward a climax that could change everything. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, a loud crash echoed, glass scattering like splintered dreams. Everything shifted, tilting toward an unknown abyss. Would we triumph, or were we to be swept away in the very tempest we sought to escape? The darkness swirled closer, and the choice to claim our own destiny bore down upon us, heavier than any flame. The shards of glass glistened like a field of stars scattered across the floor, mirroring the kaleidoscope of emotions spiraling within me. My heart raced, the sound of crashing remnants ringing in my ears like a death knell. Breathless, I glanced at Claire and Max, their faces painted with a blend of fear and fury. "Move! We need to clear a path," I shouted, instinct kicking in as I rushed towards the shattered remains, ignoring the sharpness beneath my feet. They followed, our energy morphing into a singular mission of safety amidst the chaos. But as we struggled to navigate the dangers around us, the weight of the golden box hung heavily in the air. "Incredible, isn't it?" The man laughed, his voice a sinister melody that twisted within the turmoil. "Even in the face of destruction, you strive forward. But tell me, what makes you think you're worthy of the legacy it contains?" My pulse thundered in my ears as I pushed aside the fear gnawing at me, stepping into the challenge. "It's not about worthiness. It's about hope, about what we can create together." I found myself shouting without thought, driven by the unyielding desire to protect not just our dreams, but our very identity, spirits that could not be quelled by intimidation. "Together," Claire echoed, her voice rising above the cacophony, igniting in me a flicker of confidence. "We're more than just chefs, we're a family." That frantic energy coursed through us, like a wildfire igniting the dry brush of despair. We cared for each other, and underneath the smoke of the present, I could see embers of a future we had forged. But just as our spirits lifted, I looked over to where the man stood, his icy gaze studying us with unsettling curiosity, as if he were savoring our moments of strength. "What a beautiful sentiment," he crooned. "But surely, you realize that love won't win you the prize?" Not in my kitchen did I felt a surge of anger simmer beneath my skin, realization dawning on me that he craved the emotional litter of our spirits, a twisted game to him that flitted between cruelty and sick fascination. "Maybe not," I spat, meeting his gaze head-on. "But love is what drives us to create. Without it, all you have is a stark fear that will consume you." The kitchen erupted into chaotic laughter and gasps, chefs pausing to absorb the growing tension of our standoff. Even they were swept into the turbulent pulse of our exchange, hearts racing between conflict and solidarity. Claire grabbed my arm, her grip firm. "We can't let him get to us. We're almost there." She pointed toward our makeshift station, where the elements of our dish lay waiting, our centerpiece steadily holding its potential. "Let's show him," Max urged, his eyes alight with determination. I nodded, allowing our shared warmth to envelop me as we glided back to our space. All our ambitions, all our hopes rested on what we were about to create. But just as we collected ourselves to harness that energy, another tremor echoed through the foundation beneath us. A sudden scream broke through the kitchen's raucous clamor. It was one of the newer sous chefs, her face a testament to utter panic, pointing towards the storeroom, the freezer. She cried, voice shaky. It's not working. Everything is." My stomach dropped. The tension pervading the room morphed into dread, urgency pressing down like a vice. The supplies, including all our essential ingredients, were compromised. No. "We can't lose everything now," Max exclaimed, the horror reflecting back in his wide eyes. Without missing a beat, I surged forward, urgency propelling me to the storeroom. I reached for the door handle, twisting it with frantic desperation. It creaked open, revealing a chilling scene: the once chilled shelves, now warm, the contents wilting under the rising temperature. It was a culinary catastrophe in the making. The man's laughter rang out like thunder, echoing through the room. "Looks like the odds are destined to be against you. But, oh dear, what will you do now?" My heart sank like a stone. We were being pushed to the edge, and yet, it was in this moment that I felt a flicker of rebellion ignite within me, a desperate need to rise above the defeat looming like a storm cloud. No. "We're not done," I shouted, conjuring every muscle in my voice to exude strength, not surrender. "We will find a way together." Claire and Max rushed in beside me. Their faces reflected a shared resolve as we frantically searched the shelves, throwing anything that remained salvageable into our arms. I tossed aside my own fear, focused on consolidating our resources instead. Grab what you can. Well, make it work. Well, adapt. Rations dwindled along with hope, eyes searching in the shadows for anything that could sustain us. Suddenly, a forgotten memory rung in my mind. An old recipe passed down, whispering through time, wherein a single grain could transform a dish. I fought to remember, piecing together a new idea even as panic swirled. Can we substitute? Claire suggested, her brow furrowing with focus as she scanned our dwindling ingredients. You mean pull from everything we have left? Max questioned, the gears turning in his mind. Exactly. It doesn't matter what we started with. It's what we'll make of it now, I said, feeling a rush of hope swell within me. Just as the last items were snagged from the shelves, a hard thud jolted our senses. We turned, breath held as we witnessed the man standing tall by the doorway, arms crossed smugly. A pity, he taunted. You can strive for perfection, but it's the chaos that will be your undoing. His presence was poised, predatory, yet in that moment I felt an unexpected glimmer through the ruins of our kitchen. Among shattered glass and fading ingredients, we had forged an alliance built not only on ambition but on resilience. With steely determination flickering across her features, Claire surged toward the man. If chaos is what you think will bring us down, then you truly don't understand the fire we carry within us. The chaos surged around us like a storm as I turned my attention back to our ingredients, letting the internal flames guide me. With island resiliency, we began to orchestrate our dish anew. But as we wove together flavors and techniques, I felt a deepening pit within, a growing certainty that the unraveling had only just begun. This man had a hold on something much larger than the dish we prepared, a dark energy we were yet to fully comprehend. What awaited us in our conjured chaos ran deeper than culinary ambition. Just as I felt the sparks dance in my fingertips, I heard a crack, and turning too quickly, I was met with the sight of the golden box swaying dangerously on the edge of the table we had rigged. In a heartbeat, it tippied a single solitary second past. The kitchen grew silent, a collective gasp echoing. The world seemed to suspend as I lunged forward, grasping for its shimmering edge, and then, darkness swallowed the room as the box slipped from my fingers, cascading down into the chaotic depths of despair, pulling us toward an uncertain revelation we had yet to confront. The darkened room fell silent, an arresting pause expanding like an ominous shadow. My heart sank as time seemed to warp around the golden box, which now hung suspended in the air, held by an invisible thread of fate. It teetered for a moment so close, yet so far from salvation before crashing to the floor with a cataclysmic shatter. Shards of gold and soft velvet cascaded across the floor like confetti in a funeral march. My breath hitched, a mixture of disbelief and profound sorrow flooding my senses. Claire and Max were frozen, staring in shock, their eyes reflecting a tempest of emotions. No, I whispered, the single word echoing back as the reality of my failure crashed over me like a frigid waterfall. Just moments ago, we felt like warriors, ready to take on the chaos together, but now the ground beneath our feet had turned into quicksand. The man's laughter resounded, cruel and mocking. And just like that, your dreams are reduced to dust. How poetic. My gaze was fixed on the remnants of what was once a vessel, a promise, a legacy we had been fighting for. Each shard glimmered like a moment lost, a reminder of the stakes that had driven us to this point. We can still, I began, but the words felt hollow, empty in a room filled with disappointment. Claire, who had been quiet in the aftermath, stepped forward, her feet unsteady as if the ground itself beneath her had been torn apart. No, she said, her voice sharper than glass and filled with resolute defiance. We're not defined by that box. We're the fire, the passion, the soul behind every dish we create. Max nodded, shaking off his shock as adrenaline surged through him once more. Exactly. It may feel like everything is lost, but we're still here. We still have each other, and we still have our skills. I could feel the warmth of their determination seep into my heart, stitching together the fractures I had just endured. But doubts lingered, clawing at the edges of my mind. Could we recover from this devastation? We need to adapt, like we always do, Claire continued, her tone steadily uplifting the energy in the space. The kitchen has always been about innovation, about finding our strength in chaos. Let's not wallow in what we've lost, let's fight for what we can still create." With the last words bouncing off the walls, the pulse of our embers ignited once more, a flicker amidst the shadows, refusing to be snuffed out by despair. The pantry stood firm, still home to a myriad of flavors waiting for our command. We had created magic before, surely we could do so again. What can we use? What have we got left? My voice was determined, slicing through the tension like a chef's knife carving through a tender roast. Max darted towards the shelves, eyes scanning, searching for hidden treasures among the remnants of the frenzy. "Here. A canister of spices. Some fresh herbs." He began tossing ingredients onto the counter, his growing excitement boiling beneath the surface. Claire joined in, rummaging through crates with an infectious enthusiasm. It was remarkable how quickly we found our groove, as if the earlier chaos had forged a bond between us, igniting our competitive spirits while blending together our love for culinary art. Vibrancy began to thread through the air as I unleashed a flurry of creative ideas, flavors dancing through my mind like sparks in the dark. What if we create an unexpected fusion? Something completely unique, a reflection of what we've been through. "I love that," Claire said, her eyes lighting up. "We can mix techniques. Let's turn this setback into something beautiful." As the ingredients began to swirl together in an unexpected harmony, I realized that in this moment of chaos, we had learned to transcend our initial goals, evolving our dish into a symbol of resilience rather than a mere reflection of what was lost. Hope threaded through our actions as we combined, reimagined, and reinvigorated our approach. With time slipping through our fingers like sand, we poured every ounce of our passion into the new concoction brewing before us. Laughter and fervent discussions returned, chaos morphing from despair into a sweeping tide of creativity. Even under the specter of the man's dark energy, we formed an impenetrable shield, a unity bound by the purpose of reclaiming our aspirations. But just as the aroma of the dish began filling the air, warm and inviting, a sudden chill swept through the kitchen. The atmosphere shifted, tension recoiling like a drawn bowstring. I spun around, feeling the prickle of awareness in my gut. The man was no longer laughing. Instead, he loomed over us, his expression morphed into something darkly calculating, devoid of humor. "What an impressive effort," he said, his tone laced with a dangerous edge. "But remember, this isn't just a routine competition. In this kitchen, you risk more than titles. You're playing with your very souls." The declaration hit me like a punch to the stomach, reverberating into the wild hope we had begun to kindle. A sudden realization dawned on me: this was not merely about the competition, nor the golden box. There were stakes heavier than I could fathom lurking in the shadows, imbued in this challenge. My heart raced again, a new fear tautening my muscles. I looked toward Claire and Max, their expressions tightened, mirroring my dawning panic. This wasn't just about a culinary showdown anymore. And then, as if reading my thoughts, the man leaned closer. "You'll discover the truth soon enough, how much you're willing to sacrifice in the name of passion. Perhaps you'll regret this after all." His words wrapped around me like a shroud, choking the warmth that had been blooming just moments before. As the shadows closed in, I felt the embers of our newfound strength flicker dangerously close to extinguishing. What are we truly risking? I thought, even as the dish surged forward amidst chaos, a fleeting hope in a world turned asunder. In the heartbeat of that moment, just as I prepared to confront the man further, the air shifted once again, a low rumble echoing from the depths of the kitchen, promising more than just culinary challenges ahead. A revelation loomed on the horizon, alongside uncertainties that clawed at the edges of my mind, and behind that swirling storm, something darker yet impenetrable awaited us, teasing the edges of a thread that would pull tighter until it threatened to unravel everything we once built. The darkness in the kitchen was palpable as I stared into the abyss of conflict that lay before us. Each breath grew heavy with uncertainty, while the man's sinister presence cast an ominous shadow over our fragile hopes. My heart raced, caught in a tumult of emotions that threatened to spiral out of control. The line between ambition and destruction blurred, and under the weight of it all, I felt as if we teetered on the precipice of irrevocable change. Claire and Max stood beside me, the strength of our connection like a beacon in the thickening fog. "We won't let him win," Claire whispered, her voice steadying, igniting a spark of determination in my chest. We can create and reclaim our story, no matter what he throws at us. A swell of camaraderie rushed through me as I nodded, willing acceptance of our struggles becoming the forge for something greater. Our unity was a shield, an invisible armor fashioned from the many shared moments and the understanding that stretched between us. With a newfound purpose, we returned our focus to our creation, synthesizing hope, resilience, and inspiration into a single dish crafted from the remnants of chaos. Each ingredient we salvaged served as a talisman, resonating with our narrative and channeling our indomitable spirits into culinary art. Let's let this speak for us, I said, pouring my heart into every ounce of flavor, spices that ignited memories, textures that danced on the tongue, each addition an embrace of our journey. As time slipped away, my mind reverberated with fleeting thoughts, the challenges we faced, the fears that threatened to choke us, and the burning desire we all shared to forge ahead. With our passion streaming through the air, the kitchen seemed to come to life. The aroma of our dish enveloped us, wrapping us in warmth, evoking memories of laughter and tears. This wasn't just about winning anymore, it was about reclaiming our voices, expressing the beauty found in our journeys. Just as the final flourish of our creation began to ignite with brilliance, the oppressive presence of the man surged back into focus. "Impressive," he said, his voice a chilling echo of disdain mixed with a hint of intrigue. "But do you really think a mere dish is enough to withstand the storm of reality? What you pursue here, it comes with a cost." Panic swelled within me, dread swirling in the edges of my vision. Yet as I glanced at Claire and Max, I recognized the truth. The power we had discovered through the flames was greater than fear. It was love, unity, trust, a family built from pain and perseverance. "You're wrong," I declared, standing tall despite the trembling in my limbs. "It isn't just a dish. It's our essence. It carries every moment we fought for, every challenge faced, every triumph." A flicker of surprise crossed the man's face, quickly masked by a layer of contempt. I wasn't certain where this newfound conviction emanated from, only that it surged within me, weaving together my heart and spirit into a tapestry of defiance. "You may wish to extinguish the light within us, but you won't win. We are not defined by your chaos. We shape our narratives." My voice rang clear, powerful in its resolve as the kitchen thrummed, responding to our burgeoning strength. Claire stepped forward, boldness ignited behind eyes made fierce by determination. "Let this dish shine as a testament to our journey. It carries within it not just flavor, but our stories, our joys, our heartaches, our resilience." She paused, drawing courage from our connection, and leveled her gaze toward the man, unyielding. "We will not hide our light nor allow it to be taken from us by fear." Max echoed her sentiment, stepping to her side as the embers of our combined strength burned brightly within that darkened space. "Together, we rise. Together, we overcome. This dish, our dish, will be a declaration of who we are." I felt the power of our unity surge among us, as the man, now visibly rattled by our unwavering resolve, reevaluated his approach. He had counted on tearing us apart, preying on our vulnerabilities. But today was different. We rose. As a force, unitied, a family made of passionate individuals weaving their destinies together. As we prepared to present our creation, the kitchen buzzed with anticipation. Around us, other chefs emerged from their own corners, each drawn by the fire of our collective strength. They joined us in our dishes' preparation, an act of solidarity that transformed the atmosphere into one of resilience. The shadows cast by the man felt less suffocating now, retreating in the light of our shared ambition, and then, as if fate itself had conspired to validate our resolve, a knock echoed from the kitchen door. The chef's head turned sharply, his face mottled with a depth of confusion and anger. "What is this?" he bellowed, pacing toward the entrance, but before he could emerge into the hallway beyond, the door swung open. Momentarily stunned, we all turned to see a figure clad in white, a familiar figure, stood gracefully before us. It was the gentle woman from earlier in the competition, who had stepped forth with her own poignant story, now returned anew. "I've come to remind you," she said softly. "It's our narratives, our connections that elevate this craft." Her voice hummed like a healing balm, soothing the tension in the air, a reminder that we weren't alone. the man's anger flickered, but he fought to hold tight to his facade of power. "What is she doing here?" he demanded, frustration seeping into his tone. "This is my show." But I felt a rush of warmth and connection. She stepped forward, undeterred, her eyes radiating clarity. "And it is ours to craft as well. This culinary world encompasses more than just competitive spirits. It is about the stories we share and the connections we build. And you see, stories have a unique power. They weave us together even in the shadows of chaos. A ripple of understanding surged through me, binding together the varied threads of our shared experience. They had echoed in that kitchen, reverberating through the years of competition and fear. Claire, Max, and I stood anchored in that shared strength. This was a moment of understanding together. We would reclaim the narrative. The man scoffed, but uncertainty flickered in his gaze. "You think you can break me with that nonsense?" "I think we can show you the power we hold when we stand united," I said, my voice unwavering. "You underestimate our resolve." The finality of what we faced hung in the air like a tenuous balancia struggle that could tip any moment away from chaos. Then, with a breath filled with determination echoing our shared promise, I reclaimed our dish, lifting it high as a symbol of our journey. "This is for every soul who has endured darkness, every heart pursuing dreams despite the odds." The kitchen hummed with energy as chefs rallied alongside one another, joining hands. Their purpose echoed through the bustling atmosphere, binding us as a family forged from passion and vulnerability. Facing down the man, our eyes locked in determination, defiance, and a spark of hope. A revelation spun from a spirit unbroken, and together, we found what mattered most. The chaos no longer defined us but drove us to craft a future where connection outweighed consequence. This was the culmination of everything we had endured. Love forged in the heat, a vibrant pedestal that breathed through our work, transcending mere recipes. As the moment crystallized, light spawned anew amid shadows and darkness receded. Together, we embraced the flames that had burned bright through chaotic trials, unearthing hope from anguish as we prepared to showcase our creation. Unity would cultivate a narrative that shimmered even against the storm of challenges. It was not merely about winning in this kitchen, it was the understanding that our dreams intertwined with one another through chaos and love, becoming a tapestry of resilience born from each moment shared. And through the fire, past the pain, we had emerged into a new light. In that breathtaking moment, all doubts shattered, and we found our true story. And as the man stood watching, underappreciating the vibrancy of our sacrifice, I knew then what would always remain with Mesonothing greater than ambition would guide us forward, connection, love, and unity awaiting us at the heart of the kitchen, forever intertwined, forever resilient. Finally, I smiled. "Let's create something truly unforgettable."